could quite easily be an ambassador at Man United and have a really, really brilliant life.
I can't imagine what he would have gone through at the time. But to do something so positive and to affect so many people's lives for the better is just, I think it's just incredible. I watched this. I had a little tear in my eye watching this. I thought, bloody hell, mate.
My last real job was in the homelessness sector, in the voluntary sector. So I've had a little bit of experience of working with homeless people. And there's something about homelessness on a very personal level, and I think Lou's probably the same. There's something about seeing people in a rich country that don't have a roof over their head. It just disgusts me to my core.
I know it's a cliche to say it, but you're a couple of things in your life happening wrong from being there, right? And you would like to think that if it happened to one of your family or yourself, there'd be some sort of safety net there. There'd be people like Lou Macari, right? But they're few and far between.
You go first.
Oh, here we go. This is a bloody lovely clip, this is. I didn't know a great deal about Lou Macari. Obviously knew that he played and he managed and he was... was he at Stoke at one point? I think he was at... I think he was
manager
at Stoke.
Yeah,
that's right. Because my mate Steve that I was in uni with was a big Lou Macari fan. This clip came up. I can't remember if somebody sent me this maybe, or I just stumbled upon it. What an inspirational bloke. So this is obviously his life now is outside of football has moved on. He is spending his time and his money and his energies doing something just amazing.
This all started one night. I was at home reading the local newspaper, and headline was 17 homeless people in Stoke-on-Trent. And I'd been up the town centre that day and I'd probably seen about 50. And I thought, this ain't right. Andy Kent, not in. I went to the council the next day and I asked them for a key to a property they'd locked up anywhere in Stoke-on-Trent. I said, I'm going to fill it with homeless people. All right, John. All right, Josh. Are you all right?
So there we are. So he basically, if you don't watch the clips, he has got this project that he sort of he fronts it and he puts his name to it and he puts his money into it and his time and his energy into it, like I said, where he gets people off the streets and it looks to be some sort of warehouse that they use with, they look like shipping containers that have been converted into sort of small apartments, and he just gets dozens and dozens of people off the streets and tries to get them a permanent address so that they can get a job and they can get back and get the right benefits and make sure they're claiming all the things that they're entitled to, getting them back on their feet, trying to get them off their dependency issues with alcohol and with drugs, not in a judgmental way in the slightest. He just comes across in this as a fucking absolutely lovely bloke who's had tragedy in his own life and has turned that into something. Obviously, I can't imagine what he would have gone through at the time. But to do something so positive and to affect so many people's lives for the better is just, I think it's just incredible. I watched this. I had a little tear in my eye watching this. I thought, bloody hell, mate, you will never realise how many lives you change. 'Cause you're not just changing the people's lives that are in those places that you're given a second chance to, but their families as well. Because if you've got a family member that's got dependency or is homeless, that affects everybody all the time. You're worried about them. So you've affected all those people's lives that you're giving a bed to and an address to, and all of their families and all of their friends. It's such an amazing thing. And I'd never heard of it. I thought, well, because he was a big name, Lou Macari, through football.
Yeah.
Why have we never heard of this? Because I think it's such a remarkable thing that he's doing.
He won it all with Celtic. Great career at Celtic. Part of the Quality Street gang, who were the sort of reserve team in the 60s with that. Obviously, Celtic had an amazing team in the 60s, won the European Cup, but the reserves, players like Lou Macari and Kenny Dalglishin,
Much of that.
won it all with Celtic. Great career at Man United as well. And he's 73.
He looks amazing too.
He's good, but he's well within his rights to be putting his feet up.
Well, yeah.
There's something about him, I think, that fundamentally finds homelessness disgusting.
Yeah.
And there's lots you can give to charity, or certainly with the kind of profile he has. You confront things and you can host charity dinners. But for to get in at the sharp end
Yeah.
and do what he's done is
Yeah.
absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah.
And it's his job. He doesn't work in football anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, he
Dedicate
could
his life to
quite
this.
easily be an ambassador at Man United and have
Absolutely.
a really, really brilliant life.
Yeah.
Being flown to Champions League games and Europa League games and all that kind of stuff, and meeting corporate sponsors, doing all the stuff that, if I'm honest, certainly the generation of 60s and 70s players deserve to get out of the game now because
Yeah.
they didn't make big money back then.
Yeah.
I know Mickey Thomas does a lot of that stuff, and
He does, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm really glad. I'm really happy for Mickey because he didn't earn a fortune when he was playing for United and Chelsea in the 80s.
He printed one, but yeah, he didn't know.
For Lou Macari, like I worked. My last real job was in the homelessness sector, in the voluntary sector. So I've had a little bit of experience of working with homeless people,
Okay.
and there's something about homelessness on a very personal level, and I think Lou's probably the same. There's something about seeing people in a rich country that don't have a roof over their head. It just disgusts me to my core
Yeah.
because it's wrong and it's not on. And when I work with homelessness charities in my sort of early to mid 20s, I met some absolutely incredible people, and Lou reminded me of them, who just have that get up and go. I think, okay, well then I'll change it.
Yeah.
Because that must feel like it's such a problem now. It seems to be worse than it ever was.
Yeah, and he said that the statistics said that there were 15 homeless people in Stoke, and he was like, well,
Yeah.
I've just walked through town and I've seen 50, so that's
Yeah.
not right.
So that can't
You
be
know.
true. Yeah. It's interesting trying to explain to the kids.
Yeah.
So if you
Children
walk
just don't
through-
get it.
Yeah. You walk through any city centre and there will be homeless people there, and they'll just be like, why are they in a sleeping bag there?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, because you don't think about it, I don't think, initially. You just go, because they're homeless. And they're like, how? But I don't.
And
then you try to explain it.
None of
Yeah.
the reasons you give are
Yes.
good reasons.
Well, they're certainly not good enough, are they? So you sort of
No.
explain it.
Kids
and
like,
you go,
what?
yeah.
They got mental health issues. Well, why aren't they getting those treated? If they had a broken leg, they'd be in hospital, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
if they-
so they have, they might be addicted to,
Yeah.
they might misuse drug and alcohol
Yeah.
because they're ill.
And you go back to why that
Why?
starts in the first place.
Yes.
A lot of
'cause it's an illness.
ex-forces, a lot
So
of
what
people who've been
hap-
through
yeah,
abuse
it-
at home,
exactly.
lots of...
Yeah.
you know.
You give all the potential arguments, and
Yeah.
no child will ever go, "Oh, fair enough then."
no. They're just
It's one of those things that you sort of, when you become an adult, especially if you live in a city, I think you just become completely desensitized to it.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
I like,
It's just-
you always try, or I always try to give people a few quid or go and buy them a sandwich or do something, right? But you always feel like you're pissing in the ocean, really. So for
Yeah.
Lou to dedicate his life to something and to still see dozens of homeless people every day, right? And he's doing as much as he can all the time, right? He can't do any more than he is doing.
Yeah.
But rather than think, Christ, I'm doing all this and it's not denting, it's not making a difference. It is making a difference. Obviously,
Yeah.
those people there is making a difference, right? And that you do feel helpless, don't you? You do feel someone think, well, there's no point making an effort with this because it's just hopeless.
yes.
Well, but if we all thought that,
Yeah.
then you really are up shit creek.
It's
right?
hard. It's hard graft though for him because also
Fucking hell, what?
some of his clients,
Thankless
because that's what you
hard
would. That's what we used to. Well, that's what
Yeah.
they would call
Yeah.
a rough sleeper in the industry or the sector, I should say.
Yeah.
Some of his clients would have died,
Yes.
and he wouldn't have been able to help some of his clients, and he'll also. Some of them might end up in housing, and then they might end up back on the streets, and because
Yeah.
it's not as simple as
Kelly's sister made a
building
really
a
good
house for every
documentary.
single
No.
homeless person. There are certain skills you need to teach people, and skills that they might have missed out on depending on their upbringing. It's a really complex issue, and I think when I started working for charities, I think I had an almost Dickensian view of how it would work out. That you go in and you help someone and you get them back on their feet and then it's done.
Yeah.
It's a much more complex issue than that, which can also be quite emotionally difficult to cope with, because you think, well, am I a failure, or is this setup a failure if we're seeing the same people, or
Yeah.
some people are dying, or we're losing some people, whatever. But Lou, in the video, the way he walks around and knows everyone, and he
What a
knows them all as
diamond bloke,
individuals as well. It's absolutely extraordinary. This
Yeah,
guy.
it is.
It's an
very
interesting
humbling.
bit. There's an interesting bit where he comes out of one of the rooms, and he's been talking about drugs with the guy who's in there. And he just goes, "Don't get the drugs thing. Don't get it."
Yeah, yeah.
He said, which
Yeah,
is
that's the
weird
thing.
doing what I'm doing. He's like, but I just don't get it.
Yeah.
And that's quite interesting then to not... almost
Because I
in his
bet
head,
he'd
he's-
understand drink.
Yeah, but he's almost got, not a judgmental opinion, but he's got an opinion about the drugs thing. But that doesn't stop him from doing the work with people who have addiction to drugs. And I think that's really interesting. Because a lot of people draw that line, don't they? They go, oh, well, drugs, you can't fix that because they're going to be addicted forever or whatever. And that's the block then for them trying to help. But he's just gone, okay, I'll get past that.
It's also a convenient way of you sort of abdicating responsibility for it.
Yes,
Saying, well,
yeah.
but there's nothing I can do to help.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is somebody who could do to help. Like Kelly's sister made a really powerful documentary called "Homeless Life on the Streets," and it was
Okay.
looked
that
at
the one
homelessness
set in
in
Swansea?
Swansea.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
that's
see.
right.
Yeah. That's
Really good. But she got it's only a small crew doing it. Her and Chris, I think, and somebody else. So she did all those interviews herself, and she got to know those people really well over the course of making it.
Okay.
And it's fucking hard. Like it's like you said
Yeah.
then, because you get to know people's backstories. They're not just a person saying you've got any spare change. You get to know what they're about and what they've been through, and how they got where they are. And I know it's a cliche to say it, but you're a couple of things in your life happening wrong
Yes.
from being there, right? And you would like to think that if it happened to one of your family or yourself, there'd be some sort of safety net there. There'd be people like fucking Lou Macari, right? But they're few and far between. But I just watched this and thought, bloody hell, mate. I liked you before. I didn't know a great deal about you. I didn't know anything about this.
Do you remember Ed Mitchell, the Sky News
Mitchell.
reporter?
I
Yes.
don't think I do.
Because he was quite a big name. He was on Channel 4 and the BBC.
Yeah.
And then he was made redundant, and he ended up he was homeless.
Okay.
There was a documentary about him, Saving Ed Mitchell, it was called. I just googled it. He ended up with massive credit card debts, and then he had problems with alcohol. But he was sleeping on the street. I remember reading about him in one of the papers, and he would have, without wanting to put too fine a point in it, he'd have been earning good money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's a few, as Mike said, you're a couple of your building blocks being knocked over away.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not, like you said, it's not the one person that she was dealing with a lot that they really liked, and eventually he got a house. He was on the waiting list, and they gave him an apartment. And she said, but with the first night there, his friends are his people that have got his back on the street are other homeless people.
Yeah.
So he gets the home. There's a strict, like, you can't have any of your homeless friends coming to visit and all this sort of stuff. I think it was run through the church, so I don't know how it worked. But anyway, his friends come around the first night there, get pissed, some are on drugs, some are whatever, right?
Yeah. That's you done.
Yeah, he's done. He's out. He's fucking back on the street again. He's kicked out.
Yeah.
That's his job. That's his chance gone, right? You think, fucking hell, mate. This, and people say, well, it's his fault. Do you know what he's
He
been
never had
through? Do you know what his life's like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
Do
you
you
know
have
why he
friends at
does
your
that?
house that you can't control?
It's his
Yeah.
fault, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, is it really okay then? If it
also-
makes it easier for you to think that, then you think that.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that documentary. I didn't know that was Kelly's sister.
Yeah, Tracy made that.
That's
Really
a
good.
that's on YouTube, isn't it? I think that's where I saw it. It's a really powerful piece of
It's
television.
worth having a look if you.
Yeah.
It is.
It's not an easy watch.
It's hard watching. But this is, I mean, to see that, like you mentioned, it's Lou's attitude, isn't it? When he's in there, he's a friendly face. He knows them all by name. He takes an interest in people. He's not doing it to make money or to make a name for himself, to win any awards or do anything else.
Yeah.
He's just doing it because, like I said, he's had tragedy in his life, which I'm sure influenced it, and he just wants to make a difference to as many people as he can, and he is doing that.
Yeah. It's just also his name's on it. He's under a lot of pressure
Yeah.
because of a charity or a foundation he set up is looking after homeless people
Yes.
with all of the attendant problems
Yeah.
that would bring you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just, I was gobsmacked actually by this. I think I remember Lou Macari as manager of Swindon. I don't remember his playing career. I'm not quite old enough to remember his playing career. And he was someone who'd end up on stuff like Question of Sport.
Mm.
You know, that's what I think when I think of Lou Macari. My opinion of him has completely changed now.
I think I've skipped to the Lou Macari he used to sing when he was at Stoke, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
That works.
To the
Yeah,
Lou
that scans.
Macari. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what a bloody deeply, deeply impressive bloke.